Welcome to the arena. I'm Greg Sindelar, and today I'm joined by our wonderful senator from North Texas, Angela Paxton. Senator Paxton, thank you for joining us.
Hey, it's great to be here, Greg. Thank you.
Well, so the purpose of all of this and this conversation is just to get to know a little bit about you and what you're proud of doing in the legislature, and then also what you're looking forward to doing in the 90th. So let's maybe start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your background and your history, and maybe I don't mean to say it so flippantly, but why in the world would you want to run for elected office? Why would you want to be in the arena, as they say?
This is the great question, right? I would say it's $1 million question, but it's a $600 a month question.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Well, I'll start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I'm actually the product of an unexpected pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an adopted child. I grew up with amazing, wonderful, dedicated Christian parents that I think really valued being parents because they realized they might not have been. Yeah. They were not able to have children. And so I have a little brother that's also adopted, but grew up in a wonderful family, tiny little town. I'm pretty sure I'm the first state senator from Rendon, Texas. It's still unincorporated.
Where is Rendon, Texas?
Rendon, Texas.
Rendon, sorry.
Yes, Rendon, Texas is outside of, it's kind of between Mansfield,
okay,
Everman, and Burleson.
Okay, all right.
So,
I know that area. As a DFW native, I'm familiar.
So Tarrant County, actually, if you're going south on 35 from Fort Worth, you will pass Rendon Crowley Road, and that's the most formal.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Acknowledgement of Rendon that exists, I think. So it's
So you're a Tarrant County product.
I grew up in Tarrant County.
That explains so much about why you're so great. I'm a Tarrant County product too.
No, you know what? It was. I have accepted, that I live in the Dallas area,
Yeah.
and I actually even tell people when I'm traveling, they ask me where I'm from. I live in McKinney, Texas, in Collin County, just north of Dallas. But I typically start with Dallas because people know where Dallas is.
Yeah.
That was kind of a hard move for me over the years.
My dad was like, we tell people we're from Fort Worth. Yeah. We are not Dallas.
Yeah, my address was Fort Worth, and but anyway, grew up in a wonderful home. Playing outside. Playing in the woods and with my German Shepherd and my little brother. And
wonderful.
Anyway, but graduated from high school in Mansfield, went to Baylor University on scholarship, first person in my family to graduate from college.
Wow.
And majored in mathematical science, math and computer science.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I graduated, got married, and really looked at my degree plan was kind of designed to be a systems engineer, and I'd interned with IBM and stuff. But I decided that I loved school. My teachers had such a great impact on me, and I really wanted to teach. I wanted to pass that on to the next generation. Mm-hmm. And so I became a teacher. I taught math and physics, high school math and physics. I was a school counselor. So I did that for almost 20 years. I was a stay-at-home mom as I was having four little kids that had, I had 4 kids in 5 years, and
God bless you.
Close together. They're all grown now.
That's the way to do it, though. Right?
You know what? I never got out of a car seat or diapers. I just was in it the whole time and came out of all of it at once.
Embrace the chaos.
Didn't have to go back into the angst of that, but I got into politics, I guess. I always cared about the values. My parents raised me with that. It matters that we vote. It matters that we're engaged. But I was not particularly political, but I cared about values, and I cared about making sure I voted for people who would represent those things. And of course, I was married to someone who was in elected office when we decided to do that. I felt like God was calling us to that. And so that's how I got involved in politics and policy, though, was helping. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I say all of a sudden, I was presented with the call, I think, I kind of got recruited and called up to run. There was someone that...
Multiple calls, maybe one from above and one from...
Yeah, and there was someone that had moved into our district that was running for an open Senate seat. Our state senator had run for Congress. Mm-hmm. And so I had people calling me saying, will you run? We want someone from here. Yeah. And, it was something I prayed about. I had to make a quick decision, but I felt like God was very clear, I want you to do this. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, though, not in my wildest dreams or darkest nightmares did I ever think I would run for office. But I look back at all the things I was doing to help,
Yeah.
and God was equipping me.
Yeah.
So here I am. I first teacher elected to the Senate in a couple of decades. Only the 21st woman in the
Really?
Texas Senate when I was elected.
Wow.
And just a real opportunity to take the things that have been part of my life and mattered with faith and with family and children and education, being a small business owner myself, and make a difference for other Texas families.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and what did running for office is not a small decision, right? It completely changes everything about your life. What was it? What did you like about it? What were the hard parts? Was there anything unexpected that, as you got into it? Obviously, you'd seen it before helping out, but what kind of take us through what that was like? Because it's a very interesting process. I know a lot of our listeners and other people are always considering. And honestly, as somebody who does this and is on the policy side, I'm like, I don't know why people want to do that, but I'm so grateful that good people want to do it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, it's funny. When I was first sworn in 2019, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 2019.
2019.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So this is I'll be going into my 5th session.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, all my kids came to the swearing in, and I had my oldest daughter. A couple of weeks after I was, in the mix of everything going on in the Texas Senate in my very first session, she called me, and she's, I always said when I grow up, I want to be like her. So, she was looking out for me. She's like, so Mom, tell me, as a state senator for these last 3 weeks, what's the biggest thing you've learned? And I said that I can't make everyone happy.
Yep.
And we kind of laughed.
It's an important life lesson.
And a couple of days later, she sent me this meme, and it said, remember, you cannot make everyone happy. You are not a taco. So anyway, with that said, the everyone part, it's a people business.
Yeah.
And I think the best part about it is the people, and the hardest part about it is the people.
Yeah.
Right? But I do think when you have good relationships with people, even when you disagree, you can at least find common ground where you can find common ground.
Yeah.
And for me, it's mattered to have good relationships with people I agree with and that I disagree with. I need them all.
100%.
I may not need them all. I may not have them all right now, but there'll be something else where we can work together.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
My motto has been listen, learn, lead.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, I think being a good learner is what makes a good teacher.
Yeah.
But I also think it really is what makes a good legislator.
Yeah.
And you learn by listening.
Yeah.
And we get that flipped around. A lot of times we want to start by leading, but I really think that process, listen, learn, lead, is the right way to do it. And if you love learning things, I don't know that there's anything that really puts you in the middle of it like being a state senator.
That's right. Well, it's the reason God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? Is for that reason. And I think to really understand what's happening, you're making really important decisions. It's good to have a really broad perspective, right? That helps you really probably hone in on what is actually the real truth, right? And what is really needed.
Absolutely. And none of us in the Texas Senate and the Texas House, in life, right? None of us is an expert in everything.
That's right.
And almost everyone has deep expertise in something in the Texas Senate. There are 31 of us. We all come from different backgrounds. We come from different professional experiences, and we live in different parts of the state that have different kinds of challenges and successes. But it's important to know that you don't know everything. And that's where it's important to have people that you can lean on and people that you trust. But listening to different perspectives, I'm always amazed at the different ideas, things I've never thought about it that way. It's amazing, and then you realize that if you're not listening, you're going to miss out on something important.
Yep.
And even if you don't agree with it, doesn't it matter that you're aware of the perspective?
Yeah, that's right.
Right? How do you treat people with dignity and respect if you can't acknowledge different viewpoints?
I could not agree more. And at the end of the day, I always tell people, I was like, yeah, we're a policy organization, and we're trying to get good policy and legislation done in the Capitol with the help of people like yourself who are leading on these issues. I was like, but it's really a relationship business. And to do that, you have to know people, and it's not rocket science. It's a lot of shoe leather work. So you spend time with people, you understand their motivations, you understand what it is that they're seeking, and you figure out how that folds into the ultimate policy that you're trying to get across the finish line. And then understand that the political process means, well, I'm probably not going to get 100%, maybe every once in a while, but maybe it's 80% or 60% or 40%. And how do you kind of build momentum to ultimately get to where you want?
Right. And my very first session, there was a pro-life bill that it was sort of my personal priority.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, we passed it in the Senate, but we didn't get it passed in the House.
Mm-hmm.
Story of our lives as senators, right? Just kidding.
Lieutenant Governor was talking
sort
about.
of.
He said things are changing, but he's like, it was a rough few years.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a learning experience, right? Anyway, I was disappointed that it died on calendars.
Yeah.
And one of my colleagues, veteran Senator Robert Nichols, actually sat right behind me. This was my first session, and he said, "Hey, Angela, I know you're disappointed about your bill, but," he said, don't give up. And he said, lots of things don't pass the first time, especially when something is kind of a novel idea. In the Senate, people need time to get used to it. In the House, they need time to get used to it. And he said, I just want to encourage you, don't quit.
Yeah.
It's a long game. We have to play the long game. And, that's something in our society, I think it used to be that people thought more in terms of the long game, right?
Yeah.
If you're a farmer, you don't put the seed in and it pops up tomorrow,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And life taught us that, right? Yeah. We live in a world where so many things are just available right now.
Instant gratification.
Yeah,
Yep.
faster and faster, and so it's easy to get discouraged when something doesn't go well.
Yep.
And when I was teaching, I remember working with kids. And I was teaching high school math, and I loved pre-calculus was and trig were my favorite to teach.
Man.
But that was like the first course for a lot of these kids who were taking trig and pre-cal. It was the first time math was hard for them.
Yep.
And I know that
that's why I remember my pre-cal class. That's the first time I was like, oh, I got to study. Oh no.
Yes, it's different, right?
Yeah.
And so they would hit a wall with something.
Yeah.
And they would just go, Miss Paxton, I'm just not good at this. And my favorite thing to say was, yet.
That's right.
You're not good at it yet. You're going to learn it. Just because it's hard, it doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah.
It just means it's hard. So you're going to work hard, and you're going to show it who's boss, right? Show trig who's boss, that sort of a thing. But that's, the lesson that all of us have to learn in life. And it's something that I remember as in my work as a state senator is yet.
Yep.
So maybe it didn't happen. We do everything we can in the limited time that we have. Limited government, limited time is an important constraint if we're going to have limited government. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put you all in session all the time to get this done. But I think that's so important. When I go talk to various groups or, even, people here, my biggest concern is I want people to be in it for the long term. And sometimes I feel like there's this grievance culture or this instant gratification. If it doesn't go right away, that people leave the field. And I was like, man, we need you. If we're going to truly keep Texas as the shining light for the rest of the country, it's like we need all of y'all in the field. And we have to understand it's not going to be perfect process getting there, but if we stay at it, we will eventually get there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if we stay at it the right way.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
One of the things I used to talk to kids about was we all have an I power.
Yeah.
And people tend to work through in one mode or the other. And the two I powers that I would talk to them about are influence or intimidation.
Yep.
And, the reality is when I was running for office, I used to say all the time, I think working with adolescents was great preparation for politics. Because the reality is people don't change much. We want what we want. Sometimes we want good things. Sometimes we want bad things. But you've seen this.
Yeah.
There are people that want great things, and they go about it like just beating everyone up to get there, right? And there are people that want what we would definitely consider bad things, and they're smooth, and they bring people along with them, right? And I think this is something we have to think about. In the legislature, it's the same. I look at people, and there are people.
Dale Carnegie's talked about this for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
But we tend to operate either by bullying people, whether we're in middle school or we're adults, right, or by winning people over.
Yeah.
And I do think that manner of operating is the one that wins in the long run.
Yep.
You may get what you want by bullying, but you burn bridges.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually true leadership. Leadership is just getting things done through other people, and doing that, you have to influence. You can intimidate, but it's not long lasting.
No.
And one time, this was actually not a legislator, but I was in my office. I was meeting with a guy. We were talking about an issue, and I agreed with him 100%. And he was like beating on the table in my office, like, I don't get why people won't listen to me. And I was like, it's probably this. I agree with you, and this is unpleasant. I was like, you're yelling at me, and I agree with you. I was like, that's like the tact you have to change. Like, people don't want to listen to that, and so I think that's absolutely correct. Well, I want to be able to talk a little bit. Obviously, you have a new chairmanship, and so congratulations on that. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming session and that. What are the things that you're looking at doing, and what are things it's economic, I should say, it's chair of economic development. Did I get that exactly right? And, Collin County is kind of one of the engines, if not the engine, behind a lot of the economic power in the state. And so you're kind of right at the forefront of all that. What are the things that you're looking at to ensure that Texas continues to be such an economic powerhouse? Right.
Well, that's what we want. We want to maintain our ground and gain our ground, right? As we all know, we love to talk about this in Texas, that, we're the 8th largest economy in the world if we were our own country. Which, aren't we?
I always say I have 2 favorite countries, Texas and the United States.
There you go. So I think that part of what has brought us to this place, right, has been sort of a posture over the years of having light touch regulation. It's reasonable, it's limited, it's predictable. That kind of a regulatory framework. So I think we definitely want to make sure that we stay in that lane, because that helps businesses to operate. But I also think that to be business friendly means to be family friendly. The economy, the ground zero for the economy, jobs. Right. And that means that there have to be people who can do the jobs, but there have to be jobs to do. And some of those jobs are, we want to attract those businesses here, but we also want to encourage entrepreneurship. Almost half of our employees in Texas are employed by a small business. So we don't want to put barriers that make that hard to do. As I look at Gen Z, it's a very entrepreneurial generation.
It's very interesting.
And so let's be a place where we welcome that and that thrives, right? But a lot of that means that we've got to also have the supports that make it a good place for Texas to be the very best place to live and work and raise a family, right?
That's right.
So kids that are raised here in a Texas culture, and that they are raised to give back to their communities. And, I do think some of the challenges around that are we've got to make sure that our education system is building into that, K through 12 and higher ed. But I also think that we also have to think about some of those structural supports like childcare. So a lot of our families are single parent families, and they're still families. And don't we want to help them be everything that they can be? So I think that's maybe a personal thing for me. I've got I mentioned I've got 4 grown kids, and 3 of my 4 have children of their own now, and I've watched that.
Which I hear being a grandparent is like the best.
You've heard this too, that if you knew what it was like, you'd skip parenting altogether and go straight to that.
My dad tells me that all the time.
I got to give a shout out to Dr. Jim Leiniger, who's an icon here at TPPF.
Hero.
But I was talking with him a few years ago when I had just had my first grandchild. He's 5 now. And Dr. Jim said, "Angela, you're a grandparent now, aren't you?" And I said, "I am." And he said, he told me like how many grandkids he had and how many great grandkids he had. But he said, the bond between a grandparent and a grandchild is very strong.
Yep.
And he said, "Do you know why?" I said, "No." And he said, "Because they have a common enemy." So anyway, Dr. Jim is a brilliant man. He's done so many amazing things, but he also understands families, right? But that's, I think, at the center. If we keep our families strong and we help Texas be the #1 state to live and work and raise a family, then we will continue to grow in our economic strength, and it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, if we really fully develop a culture of life where and the dignity around human life, I think it completely changes the state of Texas. And I think it ensures that this is the place people want to be, right? Because it just says something about who we are as a state when we value those things. And I always tell our team, it's like, other states are going to do other things. I can't worry about that, but I want people to have families and raise their kids here in Texas and want to do that and choose to do that.
That's right.
And that tells you something special about the state.
And we all remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs from Psychology 101 in college. And, if people don't have safety, security, that base of the pyramid, they don't get to self-actualization, entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's right.
Being all they can be. And so we have to make sure that we have the building blocks for people to have stable families so they can move up and really become who they are and that's great for them, but it's also great for everyone around them. It's a domino effect.
100% agree. 100% agree. All right, last question. I'll let you go after this. But speaking of families, and one of the things that you've led on is protecting children, especially online. As you look into the 90th, what are some of the things that you want to see happen to ensure that we continue to ensure that while we have all these technological advances and all these great things happening that I think will totally transform our economy and provide all this opportunity, that we're still ensuring that we're protecting our most vulnerable?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that is going to be around AI. And, we're all aware of the horrific stories that we've heard about, chatbots that are coaching young people to self-harm, even suicide, kids that are isolating, and adults that are isolating with this this faux vision of connection with something that's not a person, right? And so I think that a lot of that's going to take the form of paying attention to what's happening in AI with the chatbots. I personally think it's important for us to educate our kids to utilize AI as a tool because there's all kinds of upside to it, and warn them and teach them about the dark side, right? So, I think we want innovative AI with guardrails. And I think underneath all of that is another principle that's very important to me. I think it's important in that we remember that we've got to make sure parents have the tools and knowledge that they need to raise their own kids. They know them. And they're the ones that are in daily interaction with them, right? And so those are kind of the things I'm thinking about with regard to child protection, and that will continue to be a top priority for me.
Yeah, it's a interesting time that we're in, but it's exciting on many regards. But I think you're right. There's some things we need to do just to make sure that we aren't also harming our children along the way.
That's right.
Well, Senator Paxton, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all you do for Collin County and really for this state. It's been a real pleasure having you on.
Thanks, Greg.
All right.
Thanks.
And thank each and every one of you for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Arena.